Hello. Welcome back to another Two Wins podcast. It has been a minute. Well, it feels like it's been a minute for us because we haven't recorded in a while,
Yeah,
about a week. How are you, Ken?
yeah, not too bad. We ain't recorded, but we've been keeping ahead of schedule, I guess. So
Yeah, been chilling. But today I've got a video together that I said that I would do a while ago, but we're finally round to it.
I'm looking forward to it. That's all I can
Today
say.
is the OP Rock episode. Long
Yeah,
awaited. But what you've been getting up to anyway before we get into it?
just work. That's about it. What about you?
Work as well, mate. Work as well.
Yeah,
Pretty boring stuff.
pretty boring stuff. But this is our wind down time.
Yeah, enjoying my time off. I had a
And
couple half days last weekend, spent some
lovely.
time with Holly. It
Yeah,
was nice to be off.
beautiful. Well, I enjoy episodes like this because I can just sit back, listen,
You
and
can.
they're my favourites.
I've done all the research, I've done all the headache. Oh, we're wobbling a little bit.
We're wobbling.
Alright, so this is the story of 8 Marines and a place called OP Rock.
OP Rock,
From the get go, I want to shout out Mr. Bolin
right?
because I did hear it from him first. This was a story that I yoinked from him. I did hear it from him. It was
Yeah.
a while ago. He done the video, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth than he did, obviously,
Ooh,
because we're going to be discussing it, aren't we? So it's going to be a bit more in depth, back and forth conversation.
that sounds good to me.
In June 2009, so not that long ago, but quite a while ago, US and NATO forces
Right.
surged into Afghanistan to prep for a mass attack they was awaiting from the Taliban. So US forces have been all sent there because they pretty much think that they're going to get bombarded from the Taliban at some point. They were waiting an attack too, so they're sending all their forces there.
Seems like a
Eight
good
U.S.
good choice.
Marines. Yep, 8 U.S. Marines were sent to Helmand Province, where a group of British soldiers was last stationed.
So we got
So,
some Brits involved.
yep, the Brits have done their time stationing at the OP, so they're gonna switch. I will go into more in depth about what an OP is if you're not sure in a second, but just hold on there.
Oh,
But
well.
yeah, the British have done their time. At the place they was last sent is a structure called an observation post, but we're going to call it an OP for short.
So that's what OP stands for.
That's what OP stands for.
Okay.
These posts aren't just for snipers to station at. So they're not just like a cool little post, although that is what one looks like, although they look it.
We'll put one on screen right
Yeah.
there.
But they actually provide tons and tons of useful information to the side using them, as they hold key information on positions and locations, as well as being able to see any incoming attacks, especially useful at night when night vision and heat vision comes into play. So you think they're up on a mountain, big old mountain,
So
at
for
night
the
they can see for
audio
miles.
listeners, do you want to explain that to them?
We will go. Are we going to go a bit more in depth?
Just what the building is.
Yep, we're going to go a bit more in depth in a
I
second.
apologise.
We get there.
I apologise,
But
guys.
yeah, as there's tons and tons of useful information being at them because they're so high up, you can see all about what's coming, as well as being able to see any incoming attacks. As I said, especially useful at night with night vision and heat vision because you can see ages away and they stick out like a red thumb.
Right.
They become prime targets though for attack because they hold so much useful information, as you can take. The 8 U.S. Marines that were sent were led by Sergeant Green, and second in command was Corporal. I can't remember if it's Lena or Lena, but I'm going to call her Lena. Lena.
Okay. I
How would you
can.
say that? Lena?
I'd say Lena.
And anyway, that's the two majors, the
Right.
two the two oh the two big people in command. But the junior Marines were Zolek, Hoyt, Wilson, Parker, Smiths, and Gibbs.
And I can tell the English people straight away.
That's none of them are English.
What you're telling me? Parker, Smiths, and Gibbs aren't
None of them are
English?
English. These are all US Marines.
What the fuck?
So the British have gone. The British have done their time. They're swapping over with the US Marines.
Okay.
Right. So now an observation post is a big structure high up in a mountain that usually is overlooking all the other mountains. You can see for miles and miles, and you get loads and loads of information. Now, this particular OP wasn't positioned at the highest point. It was actually surrounded by loads and loads of other mountains, either slightly just above or level with that the same OP. So if they poke their head up for too long, there was risk at another mountain taking someone's head off.
Okay.
So yeah, when the British soldiers switched over, they absolutely shit themselves and looked fucked. So when the Americans come to switch over with the British, they didn't look very happy
And that's
about it.
that's not really normal for British
Yeah.
British soldiers to be acting out of place.
And pretty much they only get stationed there for 60 days at a time. That's their full station at the OP.
Right.
Before the British people left, the British people, they looked really like sleep deprived and just drained, and they didn't look right. And before they left, they said one thing to the Americans. It was really odd that they didn't speak to them too, because usually you like hang about them for a little bit. You say like, "Oh, this is what we've used this for. This is this," and you kind of tell them what's what and chill with them for a little bit. But it was really unusual for the British to just be like, "Yeah, we're going. We're getting the fuck out." Like, really, it weren't normal.
Yeah.
They said to them one thing before they left, and that was to the Americans: if you dig anything up, make sure you put it back. That was what they said to them.
That's a bit odd.
Right. Also, before I continue with this story, some of this stuff is going to sound insane, but these are eight US Marines which all have documented this, have written it down, and sworn by what they've written down. Like, it isn't a made up story. Like,
So it's all factual.
It's all factual.
Okay.
Like, they swear by this story, and it's like weird. There's other accounts as well.
I'll quickly add as well. I know nothing about this. This is Bill's teaching me a lot here about this OP Rock propaganda situation. I don't know why I said propaganda, because it's real.
In this OP, there is always someone on watch. So always someone overlooking. Like, no matter what, they switch shifts and take turns at night. During the day, there's always someone overlooking. It's in the middle of the desert, and the only equipment they got is a radio to like check in with base. They got like 6 of them to check in with base. They've also got this like dial-up electric phone, but it takes so long to use that it's actually pointless. No, they'd rather just wait for backup most of the time than actually try and figure out and using things because they don't work. They're not reliable at all.
Oh, okay. So I take it they had all the soldiers, like the uniform, the guns.
Yeah, it's really common for them to get like really distracted just looking out into nothingness. Like, it's a lot of people when they're staring down a scope or staring down visions all day long, it starts like messing their mind up.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so there's always someone at watch. The only equipment they got is a radio and that shit dial-up thing, and a few like they have like these. I can't remember what they're called. They're like these concrete square boxes which they shove a load of rubble and like cement and dirt into to stop bullets. I forgot the actual word of them, but yeah. So the very first night, during the night, I can't remember who it is on watch. Someone's on watch, but the radio starts crackling. The Marine continues to do his job, but he feels like he can hear someone through the radio. Like, it feels like there's a voice, so he's trying to like tune into it to like check it ain't base or someone, or maybe he can overhear someone else.
Okay.
And now, when he finally tunes it in, or like the crackling stops, he can now really like clearly through the radio hear a Russian voice. He decided to check in with main base and like say, "Is there any traffic being sent this way?" And main base are like, "No, it's not us." And pretty much that goes on all night. The Russian voice coming through the radio.
Okay.
He tells the next guard in the morning, and yeah, So then he makes a note in the morning when he shifts over. He's like, just so you know, the radio's like acting up. It's a bit funny. I'm not really too sure what's wrong with that. So that's just on the first night.
Okay.
So they on this already like a couple days in, they're like, right, why is this so like short? Like they're just at head level without like poking their head over and getting shot. So they
Yeah.
decide to start digging out the trenches to like get more room like around the base. And the next day they start improving the trenches.
Yeah.
It was really small. They realise it's not that deep. They also wonder like why the fuck did the British not improve this a bit? It's so shit. Like it's so small. Like the British are really lazy.
Yeah. Which
And
isn't true.
whilst they was digging, eventually they like hit something and it goes like ting, like makes the sound. And when they like uncover it, it's like a Russian jug with like Russian writing on it. It's like this old like metal jug. Where are we at? They start finding loads of pottery and stuff, and then eventually they stumble across a human bone, and it's a femur, so like a big leg piece.
Right.
But they put it back and just kept. They remembered what the British said, put the femur back, but they still had the jugs out and stuff. But they like just carried on digging and like carried on with the trenches. But eventually they kept finding shitloads of skeletons like all over around the bottom, tons and tons, and they unearthed loads of more pots and pans, and loads of skeletons. And they realised what the British meant now. Like, if you dig anything up, like put it back because there's like weird shit like there. On day 13, the Marine Hoyt started feeling like someone is behind him when he's watching. And on day 13, during the night, he hears this blood curdling scream whilst he's on watch, like 2 in the morning, like it's pitch black, and like he feels like there's a man running between like bushes, like behind him, and it starts like really playing with him.
Oh, okay.
They like he wakes everyone up when he starts seeing people run across the bushes, and they get the thermal imager out, and they can't spot anyone. They don't see anything but their dog. They had a dog called Ugly Betty, which the British gave them when they like led over. So it's really, really common for like army cadets when they're in rescue missions or if they're in like town centres that have been like demolished or whatever, for them to find stray dogs and they keep them with them because they're useful. They alert them to danger and stuff. And in this one, the British found one, named it Ugly Betty because it was supposedly an ugly dog, and gave it over to the Americans when they changed over. But the dog was going, yeah, mad at the exact same direction that the guy said he saw the guy like running between the bushes. All of them stayed up that night because they was worried that they could be under attack and that someone was planning something. So that was on day 13. Day 26, Zoluk was on the guard and he was just like looking through his thermal imager, checking, and suddenly the temperature completely dropped, like it was stone cold. And he said that he felt like someone was behind him, and he felt like someone was like looking behind his shoulder. He starts hearing loads and loads of whispering, and on the like wooden structure that they've got going over the top, he keeps hearing loads of like running going across it.
Oh.
So he like thinks that his mates are playing on a joke on him, so he wakes them up. They get their thermal imager gun out and points it into like the desert, like into the abyss, scanning to see anything
Hmm.
because of what happened the night before. He sees a man with his wrist phased like this, with
Like
his wrist
fighting
raised,
stance.
yeah, like 100 meters
Fuck.
away. He lowered his rifle because he was like, "Am I actually seeing this?" And to check he wasn't seeing things, the moon was really bright, so like he could kind of make it out if he was like lowering his rifle. So then he pulled up the thermal imager gun, and the man had like completely vanished. There was no one there. In interviews, he admits how stressed he is about like all the things that was got like going on, like because he was saying he was hearing whispering. There's these footsteps running above him in the middle of the night. He sees this guy. So you got a night vision gun,
Right.
which is green when
Yeah.
you look through it, and then you've got thermal imager, which is heat signatured.
Yeah, you can pick up like
Yeah,
red.
you got a
red
heat signature
yeah.
gun. So when he had the thermal gun, he could see a guy like this. But then when he switched out the heat signature, there was no one there. So he's got all that going on, and he was like, "Fuck me, I'm so stressed. Like,
I
I
can
don't know
imagine.
what is going
You
on."
look down the barrel, you got fucking John Jones staring at you in fighting stance. Fuck. That is fucking freaky. And what day is this? Sorry, day 26.
Yeah, day 26.
And all of this has happened already.
So with everything going on, all the stress, he starts like feeling really depressed and feeling like he's losing his mind. He thought that he was losing his mind that much that instead of telling people like what I saw someone that vanished, he decided to like keep it to himself. He couldn't tell the other like Marines because he like felt so embarrassed that like I've seen a ghost or whatever. They think that like he's going crazy.
Yeah.
So he convinced himself he was seeing things. He put it down to stress and like he was hallucinating because of how stressed he was. He didn't even see anything for the rest of the night, but he would hear whispering for the whole rest of the night and kept hearing footsteps on the roof. He truly thought he was losing his mind the whole time. Like,
So
the whole night, he thought he was tripping shit.
I'm assuming part of the reason why he didn't want to tell his
He didn't want to wake him up like and tell him.
yeah, and also I guess if they reported back, oh, if he's seeing things and all this stuff, he could get kicked out because that's a mental health. That's a mental health issue straight there.
In the morning, when everyone woke up, he actually went to Lena and the corporal and told him that what he said and about the things the night before and seeing stuff.
Oh, okay.
And said that he was hearing stuff and whispers. He requested to be transferred and said like, "Can I go home? Like, it's too much. Like, I'm literally losing my mind." And they granted it, but all the rest of the Marines were like, "What the fuck? We're in this shit as well, and you've left us."
So what country was this in again?
This is in Afghanistan.
So could it not be that
where
it
is
was
it?
so
Something
hot?
province.
Because obviously when you're hot, you get a bit delirious, and obviously they've got to be smart with how much water they're drinking. So maybe could it not be a part of like hallucinating from heat or exhaustion?
It could be, but they got water. They do have water. They do have
Yeah,
supplies.
and I guess there's so many reports already that
yeah, and they've, as I said, the other Marines felt like they was portraying him. They was like, "We're in this shit as well." Like, we saw stuff the other night as well. It weren't just you. Like, they all thought like he was just pulling the crazy card and just going home because it was shit.
yeah.
Anyway, on day 30, so Liana, it was her time at the guard. Lena, I don't never know how to say her name. She was at the guard tower, and Ugly Betty just starts going absolutely mad. So the dog is going absolutely crazy. She don't know what the fuck's going on. She raises her goggles and starts scanning the mountains like around to see if she could see like what the dog is barking at. The dog's like a scent stump thing, and then Lena, when she's like pointing her night vision goggles, she feels like she could see like a man like really really far away, like a Taliban like in the distance. So she she like switched to her thermal to confirm it's a person. When she raised her heat signature like one, there was nothing in front of her.
Like it's the same again.
Same again. The guy was gone. So she decides to switch back to the night vision goggles, and now the man is stood literally like 50 meters away, like right in front of her.
So
like that far away.
So that man teleported. Was he in a fighting stance still, or was it not the same
And
man?
she wakes everyone the fuck up. She's like, "There's someone here. There's someone here. Like we're under attack." They wait all night, like with their rifles, like waiting for an attack. And there's two of them, like in the tail, like scanning. Like we can't see nothing. We can't see nothing. Like, and bearing in mind, this is the corporal. Like this is the fucking second in charge. Like,
yeah,
saying
she wouldn't
this.
be lying.
Yeah, like this person, she saw someone like 300 meters away, like switched to her thermal, couldn't see him. Switched to her heat signature, couldn't see him. Switched back to her thermal, and now they're like 50 meters away, right in front of them. And she said it was impossible, absolutely impossible for someone to travel that distance that fast. Like it was not human. Like impossible.
Yeah.
As
This bit, your chair's proper squeaking. Oh, sorry.
He goes for like they go on like hiding for ages, and pretty much right towards the end, they're like, right, we're looking one more time. Pretty much everyone's gone back to bed. No one's giving a shit. There's only two left, and he goes one last look, and right as he says, like, I'm having one last look, and then I'm going to bed. You can carry on with your guard duty. He has one look, and then he just feels the tap on his shoulder like that, and he was like, what the fuck? Like, full people were winding him up, and like there was no one behind him.
Oh, that is horrid. That is actually horrid.
Over the next 10 days, every single one of the Marines were having these experiences, like during their watches, like people tapping on their shoulders, like the guy, like hearing footsteps running above the top, hearing whispers, and now they all realise that other guy weren't crazy, like he weren't pulling a crazy card, he was generally going through some shit, like.
Yeah. I bet they felt like arseholes after that.
So this happens all the way up until day 59, the last day before they get to go. So they're only here for 60 days, remember.
So they got terrorised for that whole length.
This is the last day before they go. Oh, Kenny. Shit hits the fan on the last day.
What? What the fuck happens?
On day 59, the day before they're supposed to leave the observation post, all of their radios go completely dead. They don't work. So they got no comms. And the guy that's in charge of comms, they have a comms guy, said that he's had no issue with them the whole time that they was there. And now all of a sudden, every single one is completely dead. They was just literally hoping. They didn't get too worried about it because they thought, look, we got one more night and they're coming anyway. We'll just get through one more night. So Wilson was the unfortunate soul to have the night shift on the last day. Wilson's in the guard shack and he's looking out, into the abyss, into the emptiness, when all of a sudden heavy machine gun fire from all directions just come blasting all through the observation posts, waking every single one of them up. They're all like up with their rifles. They're trying to call out, where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? But no one can see like where this gunfire is coming from. They have no idea. They can just hear so much like gunfire coming in from everyone. Then all of a sudden they hear that familiar sound of an RPG getting loaded, and an RPG just says, "Tung!" fires straight and smashes the side of their observation post, blowing everything like smithereens. And luckily none of them are like hurt, but they're all like hiding behind their cover.
Fuck.
They hear like the whistling sound of like the RPGs coming, and boom, the machine gun firing non-stop. So after some time of the machine gun fire just being like and constantly like, right, we have to push because they're never going to stop. So they start deciding to clear out the trenches and going along like the outskirts and making sure no one was in the trenches. And as they're going along, they like find no one, like no one's there, no one's in any of them. And yeah, suddenly, all of a sudden, just as it like began, it just dead quiet. No one hears anything anymore. There's no gunfire. The RPG's gone.
So them fuckers got rushed by an army of ghosts.
Yeah. When the sun come up, they was able to see how much damage like all the observation posts has taken.
Yeah.
There was no damage at all to the whole post. It was completely fine, not one bullet on anything.
But they all heard it.
They all heard it. The RPG's been fired, smashes to the side.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That is fucked.
So they had no explanation to
Nothing.
why they heard that. They couldn't figure out why they must have heard that. And now they understand why the fuck the British wanted to get the fuck off there at the start.
Yeah, I can understand that.
They wanted to leave quick time.
Yeah.
After leaving the observation post, so Smiths, Parker, and Diggs, 3 of the Marines, were all killed in separate instances in Afghanistan, and Sergeant Dean was very injured from an IED blast. So Liena believes that when they was digging the pots up, they unleashed something bad. And it turns out that one strip of observation post, shitloads of people have lost their life on, because it was originally owned by the I can't say it.
Do you want
Right.
me to have a go? The Musha Lihan.
So that little strip, the Russians invaded and killed all the Mujahideen.
Musha Lihan?
And when they was there, the Taliban then come and killed all the Russians on top of the Mujahideens. And then the US Marines come and killed the Talibans on top of them. So you've got all these levels, and that's let alone all the people that died around the observation post, like near it, all the people that have just put their head over for a peek and had their head blasted off and stuff like that. Like,
so that explains why that man could have been hearing the Russian voice down the radio. Probably explains why you've had like.
so there's generations of bodies piling. So yeah, Lena believes that the curse will get her one day. She thinks that she's going to die one day.
So they think it was the bottle that they opened, probably.
Yeah.
Fuck. Is there? I don't want to be like prove it, but is there like YouTube? I got a few questions.
Oh yeah,
actually.
there's lots of pictures.
So there's lots of pictures of it. Can we put some up on screen? We'll cut this bit out. I'm actually just interested for this bit because they can see it on the screen anyway. We'll just cut it.
There is all the bones that they were finding. That prove it enough? Shitloads of bones.
Yeah, that's good for me.
I mean, like, yeah, it just wasn't a fun time for them. Like you can see, they got like. This is what I was all about. They've literally just got these around them. That's it.
That is scary stuff.
It is indeed.
That is. So another question is that post still being used today? Is it?
I believe so. Yeah.
There's still people doing routines on it.
Yeah. Every 60 days.
I wonder if there's any new reports on it.
There's lots. There's so much. There's loads and
So
loads.
there's more to the story.
Yeah, there's loads. I'm happy to cover more if people want to hear more.
That is fucking insane. Because
there was recently 10 killed and injured on there.
So you could understand.
At least 10 people were killed after an explosion.
You could understand if like it was just the first like few stories and you're like, oh, it's just like people being dehydrated and fucking hearing shit or seeing shit. But then, especially on that last day, that just concludes it. That is mental.
That is the most famous story of OP Rock, but there is a fair few.
There needs to be a film made on it.
There is a documentary.
Oh, I bet that sounded beautiful, doesn't it?
There is a documentary.
There is a documentary.
So, what have we got to look forward to, Ken?
Well, we've got an interview with our 7-year-old nephew that we think will be quite funny, just to hear what a 7-year-old answers to life's biggest questions. And also, there should be an episode coming up soon. I've already got my research done. It's about... Actually, I'm not even going to tell you.
No,
it's about a little lady, all right? It's a lady.
Do you know, I don't cover mad... What's I forgot the actual heading. Mad people from history.
History's nut jobs.
History's nut jobs. I don't cover it. But I heard a story of a warrior that apparently had his hands cut off and decided to then put steel spikes, and apparently this is a true person, steel spikes into his hand pieces, and then he went and killed all the people that had his hands cut off, and this is a true person.
What the fuck?
That was in history.
What fucking nut? That is a history's nut jobs. We got a few episodes planned. Put it that way.
See if we can. I'll try to find the post one day. But yeah.
That's fucking ludicrous. Actually, I'll give a little tease onto the next episode. Once Bill's typing.
Oh. There you go. This is the guy. He had his hands amputated and knives put on him, and he continued fighting. But it's actually a true story. I
Fucking
just can't
Edward
find.
Knife Hands.
Yeah, his name was Galvarano.
Calvarino, what the fuck? Yeah,
He had
that's a good
knives as
suggestion.
hands. But
1557.
yeah,
Holy shit. Mate, that'd make a good episode.
I'm surprised you've never heard of this guy.
Never heard of
Yeah,
him.
he's a badass. He is a proper badass. He had his hands chopped off, like,
It's fucking insane.
and he like avenged all the people
Oh,
that done him wrong.
is there anything you want to discuss as well?
3,000 is his kill count with his knife hands. Ken, he was a tank.
That's a fucking mad old kill count.
Including, he would like also, so he would be on horseback with his knives, and the enemy horses that would run at him, it just like shing their swords, and then just behead their horses straight after, and they would just fall straight to the floor because he had knives on his hand. Just go whoop.
That must be a bit annoying though. Like, surely, like wiping your
What do you
ass.
think? It's just combat.
Yeah, but how are you gonna wipe your ass?
Well, I think they was like
Oh, you can take them
unscrewable.
off.
Yeah.
So he's still got a little nub he can.
Yeah, but how badass is that? They chop his hands off and like, you ain't gonna be a warrior.
And he goes on to fucking kill 3,000. Well, that's a future episode. Have you got any episodes coming up that you want to?
I do have a fair few. I did want him to do the longest standoffs, but I tried having a look. No one can give any accurate times of what the actual longest standoff is between like law enforcement. So I think I might just do a few of some of the longest ones.
Yeah.
There was one which happened in a clock tower. There's quite a few which has happened which are cool. So maybe I'll throw that one together.
That sounds good. Sounds perfect.
That is nice. So there we have it.
There we have it.
I wonder what episode we're on now. I don't even know.
Well, I think you're on episode 2 of your. What's your series called? Drop
Bill's-
some suggestions.
Bill's True Crime.
Bill's True Crime.
Bill's. This is the first one of our paranormal series.
Or is it still going in Bill's True Crime? Because it is
'Cause
True Crime.
I suppose it is, but is it will be paranormal?
Ooh.
Project.
If you guys enjoyed this,
Project Paranormal.
if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Spotify, and give us a 5-star rating.
Check out our social medias,
Yeah.
TikTok in the link below.
There, and the usernames are all the Two Wins Podcast.
Also, make sure to give us a like. It don't take too long to go down and hit it. It's also free, and it helps out us
Holly?
massively.
Holly,
Holly,
what's the key word for them to comment? She
Egg.
said egg. So you got to put egg.
camera's tied. Perfect
Oh,
timing.
that is good timing.
I'm freaking out.
Wiki,
I'm out.
wiki.
I'm
Juggle is
out of the
massive.
mic. Out of the mic. I go all night. I rhyme so tight. I don't want to fight. I go all night. If that's what you like, and I might.
Hi,
I
guys.
rhyme so crazy. I get so lazy. What? You don't faze me.